Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer, race number 9 at Kentucky Downs on Saturday is the Kentucky Downs Turf Sprint. It's a grade 3 race at 6.5 furlongs, and let's take a look at this field. It's a pretty competitive race. It's a full field. It's a nice betting race, and I think we should start with Bondurant, the number 5, who's cutting back in distance for trainer Ian Wilkes. I don't know about you, Mike. I'm done with Bondurant. I've chased him. He's run okay in several spots. You can argue he's getting class relief after chasing Disco Partner last time out. I just can't trust him.
Yeah, I don't have to be done with him because I never liked him in the first place. I don't mind them cutting him back, though, to run a shorter distance with him at Kentucky Downs. So I think it actually might help this horse. He's run well over this distance, over this course in the past. So I don't mind them doing this with him. I'm just not that big a fan of his. Maybe he gets the right trip and he wins, but I wouldn't bet him at 7-2.
Is he more effective when there's a lot of pace and he can be covered up at the back of the pack and come with one big run? Because there does not look like there's a ton of speed in this race.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if he's going to catch a great setup in here, but yeah, that's perfectly valid. I do like him sort of as, you know, sort of a one-run closing kind of horse. I'm just not sure how good I think he is.
Morning line favorite towards the outside. That's the number 10, Hoagie. And we're familiar with Michael Maker claiming these older battle-tested horses, stretching them out in distance, and they make hay. Hoagie is a turf sprinter, but Michael Maker is a very good formulator fact, as we see. Past 5 years, turf sprinters, first off the claim, second off the bench in races for 3 and up, 36%, a 254 ROI. I know you've been a big fan of this horse, and you just didn't think he got the right trip last time.
Yeah, I just don't think that trip really worked out for him. I'm not sure that ride was, you know, the smartest one I've ever seen. I mean, they just didn't go a fast pace in that race, and there was really no urgency from his rider at all in there. He let him finish through the stretch, but it was way too late, and he still almost got up. I thought he ran well last time. And I know he's an 8-year-old. He's run 44 times. He's a real hard-hitting, old, classy kind of horse. It seems like an odd claim, but in a lot of ways, it's a really smart claim because you just don't get that many chances to run for $400,000 with a turf sprinter, and I think Maker knew that. I think he claimed him for this race, and I think he's the horse to beat.
And he's a little more tactical than he looks on paper. I think he can adapt somewhat to the pace scenario, and that might mean a nice outside stalking trip behind a couple of pace horses that are questionable at this distance and at this class level. 27 of 44 in the exacta for the 16-time winner, Hoagie. Undrafted's banked $1.3 million in his career. Fourth last time out behind Green Mask, who has probably assumed the mantle of the best turf sprinter in North America right now. Undrafted was sort of at the back of the pack. He finished evenly. I'm just not sure where he is in his form cycle. He's 7 years old. I wonder if he's lost a step, and he may not get enough pace.
Yeah, that's the thing, too. I mean, even if he has lost a step, I mean, he showed in his first start off the layoff this year that if you throw a pace in front of him, he'll still come running into it, because that's what he did there. They went really fast there, and it just fell apart, and he closed it down. So you know that he can still do that. He's not quite as good as he was in the past. There's not a lot of pace in here to set him up. To me, he was hard to like as a horse who just feels like he can't be that great a price in here.
Can you make an argument that the number 6 Wyeth is simply a bit dirtied up and is going to be underappreciated on the tote board? This is a turf and synthetic horse who's been plying his trade on dirt and has not been embarrassed against some pretty good fields in his last 2 races. This is probably the surface he wants. 3 starts back in that Arlington race over a polytrack. He was involved from the beginning with several other horses, game town towards the wire.
Yeah.
He's interesting.
Yeah, I think he is interesting, especially the bigger the price he is, the more interesting he becomes. I agree with you. I think he is more of a sort of a turf and synthetic kind of horse. You know, I'm not a huge fan. I remember him from his, the beginning of his career. He was with Chad Brown in New York. I don't know. I never thought he was that good, but I think he's clearly improved since then.
Let's talk about some of the bigger priced horses in this race. Indy Hill for Wayne Lucas scored 3 starts back. He was in the quick call most recently against 3-year-olds. I expected a little more that day.
Yeah, he didn't run well in that race, and he didn't run well in the race 2 starts back at Saratoga either. I wonder if he's this good.
Can you make the case that John Court's on a mission here from the gate, realizing there's not a lot of speed? This horse has shown the ability to be a pace-pressing winner. Is he a surprise leader?
Yeah, I'd like to see them try and get him involved early in this race. I think it's really the only chance that he has.
Let's talk about the horse on the far outside, Dimension, another old class master. He's banked over $500,000. He is 9 years old. He has a bad habit of breaking poorly from the gate. He's a one-run closer, so he may be a little bit past his prime. He may be coming from way out of it in a race with not a lot of pace.
True, all those things are true. He's very sort of tempting to me because he's 30-1 morning line, and he's got plenty of races that would make him really tough in this race. But boy, his recent form is pretty dicey, and it's also one of those things, they shipped him here in the past. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, and he ran a big race to win here over this distance at Kentucky Downs. It was a long time ago, but he used to be able to ship, and now you start going through his recent races the last couple of years. Boy, when they ship him, it's just disastrous. Like, he can't do it anymore. I just wonder if he can still run. But Dan, I mean, he's a huge price with plenty of races that could beat this field.
Black Bear, the number 3, is going to try turf for the first time and start number 26th. Not a ton of turf pedigree here. I know the Dam was a stakes winner on the turf. She went 1 for 10 on the surface. She's foaled a couple of turf winners. Midnight Loot only 6% with first-time turf runners, and a troubling formulator fact for this one's very good trainer Randy Morse. 1 for 38 over the past 3 years, moving from dirt to turf in races restricted to 3-year-olds and up. This horse has a little bit of speed.
Yeah, there's just not enough for me to like with him on the surface switch, because there's not a lot of pedigree. The trainer stat doesn't help out, and it just feels like he has to improve if he's going to win on turf. And I don't see the pedigree that suggests he will improve on turf, but he does have speed.
Crewman last time out in the American St. Ledger was a mile and 11/16. Was just a little bit too far. You could argue a mile and 3/16, 2 back in the Arlington Handicap. Too far, too tough, turning back in distance with a little bit of speed.
Yeah, I guess all those things are good. This is, I mean, to me, way too big of a turn back for him. He's also 0 for 12 on turf in his career.
I want to see what the Timeform US Pace Projector has in store for this race. And as you see by that blue bar, we're favoring horses on or near the early lead. And our friends at Timeform US have the 4, Tell All You Know, a recent gate-to-wire winner while in for a 40 tag at Indiana Grand on the lead. It's possible. I think the 2 is going to be a little bit more forwardly placed. I think this horse has more speed than the 2. The question is he good enough?
Right.
Does he want the 6.5?
Yeah, those are very, very big questions. You're compensated for that, it feels like, with your price, because it feels like he will be a good one. If the pace projector is right, he's pretty dangerous in here. I thought he ran well last time. It was a pretty weak field, but he ran well in that race. I think he's a wire threat in this field. I don't know if he's good enough. I'm very concerned about the 6.5.
Yeah.
I wonder how he's going to see that out, but he's a pretty dangerous
Especially
horse.
over this testing course,
I think
6.5. But let's take a look at our top selections for the Grade 3 Kentucky Downs Turf. So I'm going with the curious pace play.
Okay.
I think Tell All You Know might be able to sneak away. I'm not too worried about the hike in class. He's facing a lot of older horses right now. Maybe he's in good form. The 6.5 terrifies me. Commend for Bill Mott. Has won 2 out of his last 3 starts. It appears he has found his niche as a turf sprinter. And from a speed figure standpoint, he is squarely in the mix.
Yeah, he fits in this race. We'll see what kind of price he is. I just like the way that he finishes in particular in his turf sprints. And that's why I like him in here, because this Kentucky Down turf course over this distance, it just might come down to the horse who's finishing the best at the end. And this horse finishes in all of his turf sprints. He got a great trip last time. I don't love the field that he beat in there, but I don't know. To me, it never looked like he was going to lose. I like the way that he did it. His race off the layoff at Belmont, to me, was actually second off the layoff. The Keeneland race where they went a mile with him is too far. They cut him back. He ran great in that race. I mean, he came with a huge run through the stretch. There was not a fast pace in that race. That was a really good effort. I like this horse, Dan.
1:10.65 for Mike, 4:5.61 for me in the Grade 3 Kentucky Downs Turf Sprint, race number 9 on Saturday, and it has an approximate post time of 5:14 Central. Best of luck.